what Amartya Sen has been talking about. It's that much. But of course, we can all contribute little by little, like the Chinese have been saying. Let's not curse the darkness. Let's all light one candle each, and then we'll be there.
Utilize their competence more in this 21st century?
Well, I have said many things in this respect. The lifelong education has been talked about all the time. Lifelong education, meaning you have to study every day of your life. You have to learn every day of your life, and this should be fed into the process of systemic support by the government. There should be the lifelong programs. So, for example, old people like me, before you reach 60 years old, 70 years old, you should be able to plan what are you going to do from 60 to 70 and beyond 70. You should make upskill people and reskill people. Of course, this generation will come out of schools maybe less well educated than before, but we should not stop there. Post-formal education, there should be the kind of training program to reskill them and upskill them. I'm trying to test this kind of thing with a situation in my own country. We have excess of manpower, millions of them in the tourism industry. They are going to be unemployed for the next couple of years until, I know people predict in 2025 before we can come back to something close to the 2018 level of 30 million tourists into Thailand. So, I mean, they have to be retrained. They have to be reskilled. They have to be moved from the tourism industry to areas where we are now in great short supply of, which is areas of medical staff, nurses, staff, helpers, not really fully nurse, but helper nurse. In the past, we used to call barefoot doctors. The system that we've been practicing in Thailand to decentralize medical treatment to all the rural areas, to train religious leaders to be a little bit informed about the healthcare prerogatives. It has been very helpful, and so we can retrain all of them to do this. We have to have a better access of internet, like I said. I mean, because this would help those who are actually disconnected, and this is again will help to upgrade them. And then, of course, we should have the program. I know around the world today we have free access to programs of education from famous universities around the world. I don't know how we can do it, but I hope if government, state can just take them over, all these applications from abroad, where you can have free access to courses from Harvard or MIT or Stanford, and put it on our education program, and maybe to help translate some of them. Because of course we all have to learn foreign languages these days, but for some local people, you need to have this kind of a help support so that they can have access. They need to have real access to education around the world, and this is now being made available on a free basis. Now, I also believe in the exchanges of education and information. In Asia, we will build up a very strong network of universities that would help train each other. We pass on transfer credits, and post-graduate schools are working together very well. I was hoping that this would be intensified more so after this. I was thinking, because I was proposing this idea the other day, to do this medical research, because we have been establishing during last year ASEAN summit with China, we forged an agreement to do joint research on the vaccines against all these pandemics and to prepare for the next one to come. And so I was hoping that this kind of exchange programs, particularly to be carried out in the areas of research, joint research, could also help address the issues of people who may come out, of the schools not having the kind of the expertise from what they should have been given at school to do the things after their formal schooling. And so I believe in lifelong education, but lifelong education is just has been very loosely interpreted in the old days. That you would need formal education and so that people will not forget how to read and write and things like that. But I think it has to be more than that. It has to be on improving yourself, how you connect with the world, how you think about the world around you, how can you contribute with you see, when we are using pension people, retired people, I mean, retired people, there going to be a huge amount of retired people in the future because Asia is now going through an aging syndrome, aging society syndrome. Before too long, people say we'll be age before we are rich. We'll be very old. So the problem with this is that we have to be able to have programs to make use of all these people, that they would be graduating, they would be retiring. But they're not useless. They can still be used. So, but you need certain programs of lifelong education to keep them in line, in tune with the latest information, and they can be advisors. They can help teaching. We're using some of these people, retired people, in the rural education system because it seems that with a new way of education, you need coaches. You don't need teachers more. You need coaches, and coaches actually are best. They may be not teachers, but they are people who have experienced the real life situation before. And the way they can inspire children and pupils and students. I mean, I'm amazed with these things. And we are quite successful in some areas with this coaching from people who are retired, but real experiences, knowing what they've been doing, knowing the right thing, the wrong thing, and giving the inspiring exercise speeches to the students. Sorry to be just, digressing all the time with this, but I think it's my answer is somewhere in those lines that I've talked about.
Very interesting answer, Dr. Supachai. Relating to that previous questions, here's another questions about education. How can the private sector, normally we talk about government in promoting and improving education system. The question is, how can the private sector best support in education, the role of private sector in improvement of education, sir?
This has been a forgotten issue of mine for some years now because, I used to propose to the government that the best planner, education planner that could help the government was the Board of Investment, not the Ministry of Education. You just take the Ministry of Education out of the loop for planning education. What the market would need. You see, because we have been suffering from the mismatch of educated people with the demand of the market. Always mismatched because we're always too late. With the digitalization process going on so exponentially fast these days, you enter universities 4 years from now, you're already obsolete. When you graduate, you're already obsolete. So how about plan? You can only do planning when you are in the city, in the market. So I used to suggest that let's have the Board of Investment do the planning for you, because Board of Investment actually gather all investment information from our own country and around the world to be able to offer the kind of suggestion of what kind of manpower requirements that the markets are asking for. This is it. And they are in the market. They are on time. They are in time. What is it? So, for me, it means actually more than just Board of Investment. I mean, I was a bit sarcastic in saying Board of Investment replacing Ministry of Education. I was meaning that major corporate entities. I mean, they should set up their own school, and they set up their own school in the past. You know, I mean, I used to have problem with the formal graduation process of having certificates, diplomas, and you know all this being handed out. And because when private sectors train their own people in a way that is very efficient, it's very much matching to what they need, up-to-date information. When these people graduate from this kind of training course, they cannot get official certificate or diploma from the government. So when they leave, if they have to leave this kind of business to go elsewhere, this cannot be used as a piece of paper to qualify themselves for another job. So I used to say that, I mean, let's upgrade all this. Let's compete. Let's upgrade all this. Let's allow private sector, Chamber of Commerce, Confederation of Industries to produce their own certificates for education, for training in certain areas, and let's compete. Whether their certificates, their diplomas will be more valuable, or whether the government official diplomas will be more valuable. Let's do it. I encourage that really. So my idea is still, and my ultimate idea is, I have been much worried all the time, you know, the mismatch, very costly to the government, because we spend a lot of money on producing people that the market will not use, and they have to be trained and retrained by the private sector all the time. So let's do this. Let's give the private sector the full reign. I mean, just the same as with the kind of treatment we do with this fight against the coronavirus. Government should not limit the private sector participation at all. Let them come in. I mean, of course, you have to take the risk, but this is the time to be thinking out of the box. I mean, you take the risk. People might get hurt because private sector might overdo certain things or miss out on certain things. But we need timing. We need speed. Getting the medicine to the people, getting vaccine to the people, to have all industries rolling out the vaccine. So let's have the private sector participate fully, and then we can blame them if they're not up to the expectation. But let them have the full reign in the participation in education. We are using in the EEC, the Eastern Economic Corridor, the new export processing zone for Thailand. We are using a lot of private entities to help in upgrading the digital courses, so that the requirement for all the Lazadas, the Alibabas, and all the digital platforms to come to EEC will be able to tap into. I mean, and we need quickly to produce hundreds and thousands of digitally qualified people quickly, and we can only do it with the participation of the private entities.
Well, thank you very much for your answer, Dr. Supachai. I wish we had much longer time to ask you questions, but unfortunately, the time is up. But anyway, all of us really appreciate your time as well as your wisdom. That's really enlightened us. Thank you very much, Dr. Supachai.
Thank you.
Well, and that's all for this afternoon sessions, the launch of the Trade and Development Report 2021, from recovery to resilience, the development dimension. And as Khun Richard has mentioned earlier on, the embargo for his presentation is at 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Times, and therefore from then on you are able to access as well as to see the full report as well as the presentation from Khun Richard as well. And before we say goodbye, I would like to ask all of you in order to fill in the assessment form for this afternoon sessions, the launch of the Trade and Development Report 2021. You can simply do it in a digital way by scan the QR code, which is now appearing on the screen, in order to give your feedback and your assessment in the form, and we'll use them as the foundation for our further improvement, because the TDR is produced for decades already, And next year, 2022 and beyond, we will be meeting here again. And once again, I would like to urge all of you in order to scan the QR code and giving your feedback and your assessment for this time TDR 2021. And we'll take that seriously and improve the way in which we do the launch for 2022 and beyond. So, and now, that's it for today. And on behalf of the ITD, or International Institute of Trade and Development, thank you very much for joining us and see you around next time. Thank you very much and goodbye.